Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on maven.net/MishTalk. Welcome back to the show, Mish.
Pleasure to be back on, Jim.
That asbestos report released by Reuters claiming Johnson & Johnson executives knew for decades that they had asbestos in their talcum powder. Is there anything behind that report?
It looks accurate to me. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. The Reuters report was very long and detailed. It goes back a number of decades to claims. Some of them had to be thrown away. In U.S. courts, when you allegate something, you have to provide evidence for it. And some of these people who died, I mean, they just couldn't provide evidence that there actually was asbestos in the talc. Internal reports from Johnson & Johnson show asbestos-like substances. There's a number of minerals that have the same properties, and Johnson & Johnson hid that from the FDA while actually going out and trying to get the FDA to approve as much as 1% of these carcinogenic compounds in its talcum powder. Absolutely crazy. The way I look at that is they're actually seeking a license to sell a product they know, without a doubt, can kill. A number of people have died over this. There's something like 1,300 claims in a New Jersey court where just this year a justice ruled that J&J hid by obscuring the facts, issuing reports that there's no asbestos when some of these tests came back with other minerals that do exactly the same thing. So these suits are going to go forward. Johnson & Johnson was slammed 10% today, something like that. I believe this is criminal behavior if the Reuters report is accurate, and a 10% penalty is not enough. These CEOs belong in prison, again, if these reports are true, and I believe they are.
Now, speaking of alleged criminal behavior, we have that Huawei executive being held in Vancouver at the request of the U.S. For violating U.S. sanctions against Iran. Somebody's pointed out, in the past, if a company is accused of violating sanctions, the company gets fined, but none of the execs were arrested. Is this a new trend in U.S. justice, or is she a hostage in the U.S.-China trade dispute?
I believe the latter. It's possible both, actually. It's highly likely, let's put it this way, that China violated U.S. sanctions. However, I don't agree that those sanctions in the first place. I don't believe that U.S. law, that a sanction initiated in the U.S. can possibly be used globally as if the U.S. is the sole determinant of sanctions. I don't think this was a UN sanction. I think this was a U.S. sanction, so why should China have to follow them in the first place? So, there we have it. So, likely both, but Trump stepped on his own foot, I believe, because he got into the politics of it and was actually talking about using this to put pressure on China. Okay. Now he's doing this not for the reasons he stated, but, or at least in addition to those, but also reasons as a political bargaining chip. I think if Canada looks at this accurately, they should let this person go. And by the way, it's Canada that's going to bear the pressure on this right now, not the U.S. China is going to strike back at Canada in trade-related ways, and it's not going to do Canada any good.
We'll have more with Mike Shedlock right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp, MGI, and the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected several high-grade gold intersections, including 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. Additional drill targets on the LH property have been identified by a 2018 drone airborne magnetic survey to further evaluate a pyrrhotite-enriched gold-bearing system. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mike Shedlock. Mish, China has just announced that it's going to remove the 25% on U.S. Tariff on U.S. autos, but it's only going to be for 3 months. Is that enough time for it to make any difference whatsoever?
Not at all. And it's the same 3 months. The U.S. is giving China 90 days to get together and work out a deal. And now it's curious. Someone pointed out to me yesterday that on news of this trade breakthrough that China is going to buy 1.5 million tons of U.S. soybeans. Wow. Guess what? A few months back, China was buying 5 million tons of soybeans every month. So all of this talk of the market responding favorably to these trade breakthroughs crashed to a new closing low for the year today, I believe, or close to it. And all the indices are in a correction mode, which is defined as down 10% or more from the latest high. I think a bear market is coming. That's a 20% decline, and I think the bear market is going to last for years. I did a survey out on my blog, out on Twitter. I asked, how many times the S&P 500 can test this 2,600 level where it's at today, roughly at the close, and it's done this about 6 or 7 times already this year. I think the next break is it, and it might retest this level from below, but I think it's going to struggle getting above this level, not fall below it in the years to come. It's going to be a pretty brutal bear market that's coming up, in my opinion, Jim.
My real estate expert, Ross Kay, says if housing prices continue their downward trend, we could lose up to 40%, and it could take as long as 12 to 17 years to get back to where we are today. Would you go along with something like that?
It wouldn't surprise me at all, and I think the same would apply in Australia. The U.S. has, different kinds of things that it did. Namely, BlackRock, in 2009, went out and started buying up all kinds of homes, fixed them up, resold them. The bubble in Canada and Australia were a lot bigger, and people can't escape their mortgages in Canada and Australia like they did here, unless I think it's investment property. Someone might be able to go bankrupt. in the U.S. we had no recourse loans, so people could declare bankruptcy and escape the debt. Much, much harder to do, my understanding, in Australia and Canada.
Oh, yeah, the banks will pursue you forever.
There you have it.
Mike Shedlock will be right back after this.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. Work programs are underway in Finland and Canada. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol ADD, on Frankfurt symbol 82A1, and the OTCQB symbol ASDZF. Please visit our website arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mike Shedlock. Mish, the riots in France are expected to continue over the weekend. Is it because the French now are perhaps the most taxed people on the planet?
Well, they are actually in the OECD. I'm wondering how they measured that. I actually sent the OECD an email asking for clarification on that as to what's counted. Here in the U.S., we've got property taxes, we've got state and local sales taxes. So are they including all of that in their discussion, or are they just looking at comparing national levels to national levels? So I don't know how they determined that, but France did overtake Denmark for the most taxed nation in that group of OECD countries. So and they went on revolt. The diesel tax was the final straw, but it doesn't stop there. And it's kind of interesting. I'm expecting there to be more protests this weekend, but I think they're going to be down in size over the last few weeks, and the reason is Macron threw them a little bit of a bone. He's rolling back the diesel tax, and he also initiated an increase in the minimum wage. Now, this one's interesting, Jim, because he said he's going to increase the minimum wage, but it would be at no expense to the employers. How is that possible? Well, it's really not. But the way he did it was it's going to come out of the government's just going to pay this extra money in the form of a bonus dividend every month. So someone has to pay for that. It's going to be out of the government. So what happened here is France was trying to hold the line, according to EU law, to have a deficit no bigger than 3%. Well, it's now jumped up to 3.6%. The EU is cracking down on Italy already over not meeting its budget target. So now France is going to violate it. This is going to throw the entire budget process into disarray again. And by the way, these agreements have never been honored in the EU, but they've decided to make a test case out of Italy. Going to have a real hard time doing it if they let France get away with this, and it looks like they probably will. So, so much for these budget accords in the EU. Just flew out the window with this.
Are these yellow vest riots a precursor to the explosion and dissolution of the European Union in the long run?
Absolutely. I think that's what we're looking at here. Italy effectively told the EU to Eurozone, the ECB, to go to hell. They said, this is our budget, and if you don't like it, so what? They responded, with a procedure, and then an excessive debt procedure, excessive deficit procedure, where they could fine Italy. Italy backed off of that, but now that France is violating it, look for Italy to try and see if it can get away with more of this. And of course, none of these, Italy probably shouldn't have been in the EU in the first, arguably, and Greece certainly shouldn't have been. And if we look at France, all of these countries have different levels of productivity. The idea that you can have one interest rate policy that suits all of these countries is pure madness. That's one of the fundamental flaws of the Eurozone. The target 2 liability system is another fundamental flaw. The fact that the pension requirements are vastly different and the age groups are vastly different when people can retire in these countries. All of these things, the idea is that all of these people can get together and have one happy family with all of these variances is just craziness from the beginning. I think it's only a matter of time before the Eurozone busts apart, Jim.
Brexit, you had a headline here, Theresa May caught in a massive lie, leaked Brexit deal analysis vindicates Trump. What's behind that?
Well, this goes back a little bit. She withheld a report to Parliament. They held her actually in contempt of Parliament for not releasing a document that May had a study done as to whether or not a legal ruling, if you would, as to whether or not the EU could keep the UK trapped in a budget arrangement for years, blackmailing them over, say, fishing rights or Gibraltar or literally anything else. May's legal advice said yes, this was, highly likely to happen. So, meanwhile, Theresa May said that it wouldn't. But in the interim period, Parliament held her in contempt of Congress for not releasing the document. So she released the document. It said, pretty much what we all figured would happen, that the EU could indeed hold the UK hostage for a number of years. So we had a vote. The MPs, Tory MPs, held a motion of no confidence in her. Theresa May survived that. So she's still refusing to put the agreement to a vote in the UK Parliament. Instead, she's traipsing all over Europe, visiting Angela Merkel and Dutch President Rutte and Jean-Claude Juncker and a whole bunch of other people over in Europe, trying to get solidarity for some changes to the wordings that would allow them not to be trapped in the Eurozone. They all told her no. They'll probably rescind on that, throw her some bone that probably will have no legal muster, and that Theresa May will be back, trying to sell that deal once again to the UK Parliament. Remains to be seen if they offer her enough, or if she threatens to hold another referendum, or simply throws up her hands and resigns as Prime Minister, throwing the whole thing up into a possible new election. Those are her options. The way the public sentiment vote goes between now and, say, mid-January or so is going to determine which one of those things she does.
Well, it looks like with the way things are going on the European mainland, just wait a little while, there'll be no one to separate from. Well,
not quite there yet. Someone has to leave first. Italy's threatened it. Greece has threatened it. No one's actually done it. So this is going to be the first. I think there'll be more after this, assuming the EU manages to escape. I believe they will. The big question here is, will they escape by a deal, or will they escape via no deal? And the interesting thing about no deal, it's not really a no deal Brexit. It's actually the UK would be under WTO rules if they escape. And in the meantime, both the UK and the EU are working out all kinds of tweaks on all kinds of things to make sure that medicine keeps flowing, that air traffic is allowed to go from the UK, to Germany, to France, to wherever, that the tunnel under the English Channel remains open, all of these things. So the whole idea about this, that it's a no-deal exit, is fallacious right off the start. So the question is, will there be Theresa's May deal or a WTO kind of deal is realistically the way we ought to look at the debate.
Mish, thank you so much for chatting with us.
A pleasure to be on the show, Jim. We'll catch you next time.
My guest has been Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on maven.net/MishTalk. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show or our guests can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.